Speaking of Happy presents Frankly Speaking. With co-hosts Eli Rigatuso, founder and queer transmasculine two-spirit of the Menominee Nation, and the lovely Avalisa Ellicott, model, public speaker, makeup fanatic, and outspoken transgender advocate. Together, we are Frankly Speaking.
We are not together today, at least not yet. Avalisa might be joining us here shortly. I know how much y'all love her. I love her too. But this was a last minute show. I didn't plan in advance with her. And so she had some other things that she's doing, but she said she will certainly try to join us if she's able to. And that'll be wonderful. We will obviously add her to the conversation once she arrives. We have been on a long hiatus. That is correct. For those of you who are avid viewers of the program, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for asking. Where are you? When are you coming back? We don't have anything specific in regard to shows that are coming up. This is kind of priming the pump, though. So I do appreciate that we have a really awesome guest today. And I know it's going to be a robust conversation because frankly, I'm a little pissed off. I know that I'm laughing. And I'm only laughing to keep myself from crying. Y'all who know me know that I am well aware of the unbelievable amount of legislation that has been proposed across the U.S. this legislative session, and also right here in Nebraska. That is anti-trans, anti-LGBTQIA2S+, anti-drag, you name it. If it has something to do with our community, there is more than enough hateful people who serve in political positions who do not understand what it means to serve all of the people. And I'm telling you, I hope y'all will bear with me today because honestly, I'm just not going to not be angry. It's just not possible. I don't even know where to start with the junk that is this pile of crap that has been proposed. Senators weren't listening to reason when it comes to some of this legislation. They weren't listening to grounded science that has been happening for decades around what it means to transition. It was leaked very recently that there was more than 2,600 emails that went back and forth about a trove of emails that were released about the small number of people from organizations that have been listed as hate organizations that have been pushing this legislation. And there's a writer called trans writer, Aaron in the Morning. If you are not already following Aaron in the Morning, you need to go follow Aaron in the Morning because she's freaking amazing, first of all. Second of all, she just is writing about all of this. She has created some roadmaps for what states are safe, what states are not safe, who's trying to pass what legislation. She wrote about the leaked emails. 2,600 leaked anti-trans lobbyist emails show fundamentalism, not evidence, is how first anti-trans bills were drafted. Fundamentalism, not evidence. And that's happening right here in Nebraska. We've got LB 574, which basically is telling parents that they don't have the right to make a choice when it comes to their own children. This coming from the party of don't make me wear a mask, coming from the party of less government. You know, I'm tired. They keep saying we're the ones with the agenda. You know what? My only agenda is to be able to keep a roof over my head, to have a job that pays me what I deserve to make, which I still don't have that, mind you. I still have to do side hustles to make extra money to be able to make my bills and to keep my vehicle and to do all the things that I want to do. And I'll tell you what, though, my window of places where I feel safe is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because I am not a passing trans man. And here's the thing. I don't want to be. I shouldn't have to be in order to be seen as the person that I say that I am. I'm so sick of the rhetoric. I'm so sick of the bullshit. So, I mean, you have joined an episode of Frankly Speaking. I am coming in very hot because I've been struggling with trying to figure out how to unpack all of it because there's so much of it. You know, LB 574 is literally trying to restrict a parent's right to choose what they believe is best for their kiddos. And these are parents who are supportive parents, mind you. They're parents who don't want their kids dead. They want them alive and thriving. Alive and thriving, not dead. But you know what? Even our senators here in the good old state of Nebraska listened to the bullshit that the other side was feeding them about, no. When I was 16 years old, my parents went to the doctor and the doctor said, you better get your kid this care or they're going to die. I mean, there has literally been research done on the percentage of people who have transitioned and are satisfied with their transition. 95%. So they're literally listening to only the 5% of the people who are pissed off about their transition. I don't know. Is it because you didn't become the beautiful person you thought you were meant to be? Because you couldn't get a 6-pack of abs? I don't know what the problem is. Look, I'm not any different looking other than the fact that I have some facial hair. I'm still a big guy. I'm always going to be a big guy, but I do not regret for 1 second having the access to gender affirming care. I don't regret the choices that I made. And you know what? I don't know if it would have been different back in the early 70s. If the type of care that's being offered now would have been offered back then, I don't know if I would have gone and had some of the things done that I had done. But guess what? It wouldn't have happened when I was that young. It's age of majority. That's the other thing that people don't understand. Young people are literally being put on hormone blockers, which again have been tested, tried and true for decades. Some of these things are even being used on cis kids who are developing too early. Do you realize that you're taking away a parent's right to actually get this care provided to their cis kid? Because everybody's going to be suspect about whether or not it's, oh my God, are they giving it because it's trans? Are they giving it because it isn't? I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the fear mongering. I'm tired of the bullshit. I could go on and on and on. Thank y'all for joining, but I'm going to take a deep breath because my amazing guest is waiting in the wings. Oh, I forgot to mention, it is National Write Down Your Story Day. If you haven't started writing your story already, if you are a trans person and you are watching, please start writing your story. A great story to actually get a book that's already been written is Billy Porter's Unprotected, a memoir. It's freaking awesome. I swear, I laughed, I cried. Such a beautiful, powerful story. So if you haven't gotten that one, Get that one. It's available wherever you can buy books and also on Audible. So it is available as an audiobook. And what's great about that is Billy Porter reads it to you. Yay. Woo, woo, woo. That's kind of fun, right? And then it's also National Equal Pay Day. I don't know if we will see equal pay in my lifetime, because most women are making 88 cents on the dollar compared to men, which again, I call bullshit, but that's not what we're here to frankly speak about. What we're here to frankly speak about is we are here. Dexter Davis, him, is a motivational speaker, consultant, artist who is currently living in Hampton, Virginia. An empathetic and inspiring storyteller, Dexter is dedicated to creating spaces of connection, education, and empowerment. Dexter works as a transgender resource coordinator at the LGBT Life Center and in Virginia, in Hampton, and serves in multiple capacities with organizations such as the Men in Transition, the National Transgender Sports Association. I know. Yes, there is one. I didn't know that. And now you know too. Stay tuned. We're going to hear more about that. And Black trans men can cook. I love that. I can't wait to talk more about that because, I mean, that has got to be interesting. He has facilitated, planned, and hosted various educational, empowerment, and community events. Welcome to the show, Dexter, or Dex, right? We can call you Dex.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn on our display names. There they are. So now we can see our names because I sometimes don't know who I am.
That's me every day. This is adulting thing.
Yes, the adulting thing. I mean, you know, the list of what you're not doing would have probably been a lot easier to get
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, I'm
What?
learning that.
I love it. I love it because here's the thing that I think is truly extraordinary. You know, most of the transgender folks that I know are involved in a lot of stuff. We are busy people. We are creative people. We are advocates for not only our community, but for the rights of all of our folks who come from multi-marginalized or marginalized communities. You know, we're right there advocating with the best of them. You know, so it's heartbreaking to me to think about, you know, the ways in which our America doesn't see us because we're some pretty dope folks. Right?
That's an understatement. That is an understatement.
Right? How
So
would you
trust.
explain it? How would you explain it?
Self-made superheroes. That
Okay.
is what it is. We are self-made superheroes. We are walking creators. We are the embodiment of duality and lived experience. We are the intersection of where biology and sociology and psychology meet. Like dope is just the best that human language can kind of sort of get to that little that we got going on over here. And so I know trans people in the background talking about that's not how my life feels. Yo, with great power comes great stress. So
With great power comes great stress and great responsibility. And you know, you're so right though. We are like, you know, I have this photo of myself that a great friend of mine who's a photographer here in Omaha. He's just an amazing, talented, gifted photographer, Joshua Fu. Um, he took a picture of me. Well, first of all, I reached out to him and asked him if he would be willing to photograph me pre-top surgery. And now, mind you, I didn't expose my chest to a whole lot of people prior to top surgery. And
so.
I still haven't really exposed my chest to many people, even post-op surgery, because of the ingrained like belief that I shouldn't show it. That comes with being socialized as female. But anyway, he took pictures of me beforehand and he was like so grateful. Like he was just so incredibly kind and careful and grateful about it, like being able to have access to that part of me, right? And afterwards, so at like I think a month, we took photos, and then I think we did another series. And when I came back that next time, he's like, "Hey, I've got this idea." And I was like, "Okay." Yeah, well, what do
Here
you
it
got?
goes.
What do you
Right,
got? What do you
that's how it starts.
got? Yeah. And he says to me, he's like, "You got this really cool shirt on today and this tie, and like, I just see you as a superhero." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna make me cry." And he goes, "Seriously, I see you as a superhero for everything that you've gone through and the fact that you shared this with me in like such a personal way. And I want to give you this." And so he like he was like throwing my tie, but also trying to like snap photos as he was throwing my tie up.
I know
Then he
exactly what
like
you're talking
calls
about.
his significant other into the room and says, "Hey, you got to hold this tie up for me." And he's like, "Oh, that's not it. That's not it." And so he kept having, and then he had, then I said, "Hey, I'll just throw it myself." Right. So then I threw my tie up, but he captured this image, and I call it Super Eli. And it's this like really amazing image of my tie flying up and my shirt open a little bit, right? And so yeah, I totally get that. Like, we are indeed superheroes. Absolutely. So
And I think
thank
the
you so
thing
much for
about
that.
that is that is as romanticized as I make it sound. What superhero do you know that doesn't have a tragic backstory? Like, I don't know. You tell me what superhero you know does not have a tragic backstory.
Well,
And
not
even though
one,
they're super, their life is not spicy. So
right?
I
I
think it's
mean, their lives are. I mean, they're kind of spicy. They're just a different kind of spice,
different
right?
level. I'm like, I can relate. I can relate. Not all heroes wear capes. But
Yeah.
and just like you said, when it comes to sharing experiences with people and you have both genders, but then other types of lived experiences, it does feel like a superpower because sometimes you understand certain things, especially certain socialized things that other people wouldn't. And so they kind of look at you like, whoa, I feel like I've unlocked a cheat code with my friend here. Like, explain. I don't know how do you, I need to know more. Like, this is whoa, or like you understand that. And it's kind of like, or I didn't think of it like that way. So,
Yeah.
um, it's
Yeah.
one of those special superpowers. I think if next time when someone asks me what I want my superpower to be, I'm just like being trans.
Yeah,
Being trans
exactly.
is my superpower.
Guess what? It already happened. Cha-ching, ching.
Right. Somebody just needs to pay me the royalties for this. Like I need the royalties for this now.
Superhero level unlocked
Right.
permanently.
Perpetually on top of adulthood.
Perpetually.
Great.
I just want to shout out real quick to Michelle. She's one of our moms, a supportive
Mhm.
mom with a trans kiddo. And like her only agenda is to keep her kids safe, happy, and alive. Yes, Michelle. I'm so grateful for you and for just who you are for your kiddo. So thank you so much for always being here. Always count on you to show up. Looks like one of your friends, maybe Brandon. Is
Yes.
this Brandon? The termination rate for us in between complete transitions nationwide is extremely targeting. Yeah. Yeah, the whole detransition conversation is a whole show of frankly speaking in and of itself. They transition for the wrong reasons. That's statistically the 3% of that 5. Yeah, they did. And they also maybe expected it to be different. Like I mean, I could go into a whole long story, but I honestly want to get to why you're here. But we have a lot of people on. It's infuriating. This is not based on the research. Yes, Stacy, that is correct. It is not. Applause. We've got some applause from Brandon. Brandon is here, here and there. Yes. Trans is a superpower. Welcome, Carlos. Thank you so much for joining us. I think that might be another one of your fans.
Yes.
Right? You got to
You'll get
have
to
some
hear more
fans.
about both of them today.
Yes, good. According to the gay agenda, we are to have tacos tonight. Okay.
Thank you. At least someone told me because I guess I keep missing the meetings. I don't know when they meet, and I miss
It
the
is
email every
Tuesday.
time. So everyone knows it's official. Tonight is Taco Tuesday, according
It
to the
is
gay
Taco
agenda.
Tuesday.
It's in the
Yep.
bylaws. I don't know what section, but it's there.
Section 1A. It's section 1A. Are you kidding
Thank
me?
you. Oh, in this case, maybe like 2T because I just missed it.
Somebody needs to, if you're in the Omaha area and you feel like bringing me some tacos, please do so. I would appreciate that greatly.
On delivery
So,
tacos.
Dex, let's get right. We're going to
Yes.
jump right into it because,
Come on.
again, one of the bans that's happening, one of the proposed bills that's happening across the U.S. is basically banning trans youth from participating in sports as the gender they identify as. So basically, there's this forced detransition bullshit that's happening, but it's like here in Nebraska, we actually have folks who serve on a committee at the NSAA, which is the Nebraska Sports Association something. I
Mhm.
always forget what the second letter A is for, or the first letter A. But there's a committee of people that actually get together and they review, like, trans youth who want to participate in sports have to jump through all of these hoops to do it. And so, they have, and there are young people, and these are mostly binary trans folks because
Mhm.
they've been given the opportunity to transition socially at a younger age, to be able to have access to hormone blockers, to then eventually have physical transitions beyond hormone blockers happen, so that they're basically able to mature and grow into the gender that they identify with. And so it's a beautiful thing. And there are young people out there who are participating in sports and have been as the gender that they believe themselves to be. And most people see them as the girl or boy that they say that they are. And so these bills that they're trying to pass just seem so ludicrous, because at this point, if you're saying, like LB 575 here in Nebraska is saying, well, you're going to have to participate in sports as the gender that you were assigned at birth, basically based on your genitals. And so some of these young trans kids who have already, could be 7, 8, 9 years into their transition because they started young, are if you saw them, you would never know that they were trans because you don't have access to what might potentially be in their pants. And so it's kind of gross to me that this is happening. But I love that you have this organization. The first one that we're going to talk about today is, and I did bring this in. Throw up your logo. I did
Oh
bring it
yeah.
in.
Come
Yeah,
on now for the
you're
logo.
gonna
It's like,
toss
come
that
on,
logo.
logo.
Come
Yes, logo.
on, logo.
Logo. Come on, logo.
Bam.
Bam.
The National Transgender Sports Association, NTSA. Can you give me a little bit of history behind how it got started, how you started it, how long ago, how long have you been operating?
So I'm actually glad that you were able to just share how you felt, because listening to you was listening to this last year. It's been wild. So I guess I'm gonna preface this like, where does it start? We start all the way back at the beginning, and there's a draft of this that I haven't released yet. And the first line is, it started with a football team. And so this is the byproduct of the craziest set of circumstances. You heard I do the men in transition. I do a variety of sports things, many or activities, not really sports. Most of the people in the area know me as like the trans man person. I am the plug. So I know many people. I'm a connector. That's what I do. And
Okay.
so about a year and a half ish ago, I had one of the guys who was a brother of mine who reached out, and he said, "Hey man, I have a question. You know a lot of guys, and I really want to do something." And I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" And he says, "There's this league, it's Next Generation Sports League, and they're trying to start a tackle trans man football league. And definitely check them out because they're still pushing through this initiative. Definitely show them some love. But Next Generation Sports League wanted to do tackle football." And so I'm like, "Dude, I don't know anything about." I'm gonna tell you right now. I was a theater kid. I don't know anything about football. I don't know. I played basketball, but I don't know. I don't know. But now I have an opportunity to show you guys I can be a boy. So let's do this. And it sounds like a challenge, and I like solving problems. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And next thing we know, I'm reaching out to a few of my friends, and one of them is Javen Whitehead, aka Lux. And so he was in the area. He was in like the southern region, and I was in like the northern region. And so I was like, "I know that you like to get the guys together. I like to get the guy together. And Brian, who's the one who asked me, wanted us to do this team. I have no idea what we're going to do, but we're going to figure it out. So we started meeting up, and we started on this thing called Sports Sundays. And so Sundays we would get together, and one of the key things was getting guys in the community to come out, whether it was 3 of us, 5 of us, 6 of us, 10 of us, was just getting us to come out on a Sunday and spend time together around a sport, learning how to play a game, especially in this case of football, a game that many of us were told we would never be able to play. And
Mm.
so even though we didn't have the skills to play, we had the heart to want to try something new. And so we were like, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're just going to try it. So in this process, we end up getting connected. I reach out, we get connected with the Virginia Lady Gators, who I believe are now the Virginia Blue Devils, and they're one of our local women's tackle football teams. And so this team was like, hey, we would love to have you on with some water boys, and we would love to get you kind of involved and
They
get your
said
feet wet.
boys.
Right. And I was like, oh my God, I can be a water boy. Let's go.
Oh
So
my
in,
God.
in talking to the owner, we got a chance to meet other teams, other women's tackle football coaches, and to get introduced to this world of women's tackle football, which
Mm.
again is really cool because it's a world we would have came from. And some of our brothers used to play in these leagues, but they can no
Mm.
longer play because they've transitioned. So we're like, okay, this is pretty cool. We want to help out. And so as we're trying to start our own team, then you remember we're adults, right? So nothing is free,
Are we?
and it costs a lot of money to do a football team, let alone a tackle football team. Not even including insurance. And so
Um,
next
yeah.
generation gave us a vision. It gave us something that an idea we never thought of playing tackle football. And the idea that guys all across the country, and there are guys still forming teams, like there are teams meeting in other states that play games, right? So that excitement was, one day we want to do this. And then eventually we had to ask the question, like, we'll make sure none of us get hurt because we're kind of adults. We still
I
got to go back to
mean,
work, right? So, in going into this, we met some really amazing mentors, and these mentors were giving us guidance. We had an amazing coach. I still call Coach Hitman. Coach Hitman got us together one day, put us in a formation, right? And we had no idea. We couldn't even throw football. It was the craziest story, and he put us in a formation, and it shocked us because he was like, "Look, you're football players. I ain't never worked with trans men before, but I've dealt with women, I dealt with men. At the end of the day, when you put that helmet on, you a football player. That's what matters. And I'm gonna teach you how to play the game right. Because when you're not a man, they're gonna scrutinize every single thing that you do. So we're gonna go out there and we're gonna make sure we do it amazing. This
mm,
was a mentor who had no training with us, who accepted us wholeheartedly. And the thing he kept saying over and over again was, he's like, y'all are so passionate. And he's the one that gave us language. He said, you are the one group of people that everyone will say you could never play this game. You could never play this game. And here
mm,
you are trying to play this game. He says,
mm,
and that's important to me because I got guys and girls that now that they play, there is an access. And after a while, you get to deal with the drama, you become accustomed to it. And so he's like, to have a group of people who are like, we're adults but we're still like kids, so we're asking him everything. He gets to teach us the basics, but he doesn't have to talk to us like children. So you can have a grown man conversation. We spending 2-3 hours with this man outside listening to music, trying to play guess that song, the instrumentals, like, but we were bonding as bros, and it
yeah.
was a beautiful experience. And so of this produced something called TM Sports League, Trans Man Sports League, Team Sports. And so this is an initiative that's still kind of in the works, but kind of highlighting trans man sports. Crazily enough, down the line, we meet another gentleman named Terry McGriff, who is the owner of the Women's Tackle Football League. And he came to me, and I was talking with Lux, and he said, look, you guys have something here. Like, trans sports is a big thing, and we got to kind of figure out, like, what can we do with this.
Yeah.
In trying to figure out the sports thing, we realized we didn't have the money. I'm talking like it's like 50,000 plus just to do a season
Ooh,
of football. It's and
nice.
that's traveling. So if you're not traveling, it's still easily about 30,000, right? So
Yeah.
and it's a lot of other things, and it takes a long time and a lot of logistics. So if you're not passionate about it, it's not going to work. And so when we were trying to figure out what to do, the opportunity was then presented to us to play for some women's teams, because we had several guys who had put months of work into this, and essentially to say, I can't get you a season right now. Like, we could play for fun, but I can't get you a season right now. We were at a crossroads. We were literally at a crossroads of it gets me every time, where
Mm,
we had to make decisions. right? Where
Mm.
we were asked the questions of, so what does your license say? What does your birth certificate say? Have you had any surgeries? What do you identify as? Are you willing to shave
Mm.
your beard for 6 weeks? Like, and for me, and maybe I hope the other guys, that when it hit it, it almost felt like it was a test. And it was one of those things like, here's a test that life gave us, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate this, because it's like, I have an opportunity, but I can't be me. And I work at, like I said, LGBT Life Center, right? So
Yeah.
people know me as a trans man. I am a speaker in my community. So what do I look like as a trans man on a women's tackle football team wearing a jersey? I can't answer to that because I'm taking that space. So it hit us like, we have to have a space. And this was just one initiative. So as we were trying to figure it out, we then got opened up to, what is something that's just part of trans history, part of trans community, and that's ballroom. And
Mm.
showing Terry some of the ballroom stuff, like I was talking to him about, he was like, what do you guys do? I said, we do pageantry. I said, the thing about competition is that sports isn't always about athletics. Oh goodness, our community is incredibly competitive. Drag is competitive. Pageantry is competitive. Like,
Yeah.
if you knew how much investment goes into this. And so when I'm explaining it to them, he's looking at these videos, and it's so cool talking to allies because it's foreign to them. And when you live in
Mm.
this world, you forget that, right? So for him, he was like, whoa, I want the world to see this. And even though we see Legendary and Pose in some shows, there are plenty of people who have never seen this. And what he told me was, he said, this is athleticism. This is a pure athleticism. And when you really think of the doing performance when it comes to
Yeah.
ballroom, it is very physical. And so of that, he said, what would y'all think about doing a ball? So I'm like, okay, we're gonna figure something out. I don't know. So I don't know what to do. What are we trying to do here? And so I reached out to someone named Coco Prodigy, who does ballroom and promotion, and that's how we kind of formed this team. And I have a variety of my men in transition guys. There's like 10 of them that are all involved, and several trans feminine sisters and a few non-binary folks who are all part of the planning and different pieces of this. And we kind of sat down, and essentially the NTSA became an evolution of us of the overarching space to say, here's a space for trans people to be. Here's a space where our records matter, our sports matter. We're going to highlight what we do, and we're going to provide a space for our people. And then we kind of figure out how we fit allies and cis folks into this. If you know that there's a problem with y'all trying to figure out how we fit into sports, well, we're going to build our own. And we don't have to build every single thing. That's the beautiful thing about partnerships, is that in building this, I've met with other LGBT organizations like NAGA, Asana, the National Gay Flag Football League. All of these organizations are different pieces. And as trans people, we're part of these communities. So to be able to say, how can we be a part of your spaces so we're part of our community, but also where do we create, like Brandon said, he says, where's the difference between gender and sports? I'm going to be real. Tackle football, one thing I learned, y'all, I am not built to eat like a football player. I am also not built to eat like a cis male football player. I am not playing football with no cis men. Not happening. I love them to death. Not tackle. Flag maybe. Not tackle. So I was like, nah, I'm 5'3". I got big energy. Okay, like another speaking thing I do is big Dex energy. Little person, big energy. But I know tiny body, big man, not gonna work. So like, we already know this. But to have a space where we can have those conversations. And so that's how
Yeah.
the NTSA created. And this was like within 1 year. Like when 1 year of us, we
Wow.
went from a football team to a sports association. And then of that created this crazy weekend that we're about to have up called Be True to You Weekend. So a sanctuary weekend, if you will.
Yeah.
I know that was a long answer, but like,
Yeah,
you
no,
get the
I love
story.
that though. I mean, I totally love it, and I get it. Like as soon as you said tackle football, I was like, I'm out. I mean, you said formation, and I was like, "Where's Beyonce? I will form any sort of
Yeah.
formation
You know how many
behind."
times I got hurt
Oh, you
3
mean
different times.
formation as in football? Okay,
I'm almost
yeah,
30.
no,
Check engine lights coming on. I got hurt 3 times, and my body said, you know what? Maybe this is not the sport for me. Maybe we need to reassess.
let's take a step back here and and rethink this whole concept.
Right.
I mean, I love the folks who do. I have a very close friend, actually, Ange Bennett, who I think you know and are
Yes.
connected with.
Yes. I,
And
if
Ange
I'm not
is
mistaken,
incredible. Yep,
they are
Ange just
part of Alpha Omega Kappa fraternity, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Where the
think
fraternity
so.
from?
They
Yes, because
also
that's one of my
play
little siblings. I'm also a part of that fraternity.
they also play they actually just went to Brazil to play in a sports ball something football thing.
Sports. Right. Right? I just give you a sense of my sense of humor. Before my coach gave me an idea of what position I might play, I was like, I might want to be D end. I D end, which is like defensive end. I didn't know anything about sports. All I know is that I got to choose my number. So I wanted to be the position that allowed me to be the number 69. So it's just no, that was the kind of player I was. And then my coach was like, no, you're gonna be a running back and we're gonna choose a whole different number. We're not even gonna, I'm
So
not
you
doing this
mean
with you today.
defensive end, not the end.
Oh,
Although in tackle football, it
could have
could
been the end.
be the end. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
right.
more about football than the average person, but I know one thing
Yes,
to
the
know.
average bear.
Yeah, I know one thing to know that I would never ever play it. Like, okay, so I'm going to tell you a little tiny quick story about young Eli. Every year for Thanksgiving, we'd go over to our cousin's house, lived in the same neighborhood, and we would have our turkey bowl. I never wanted to play, but they would always say to me, and because I was always saying, like the first year we did it was tackle, and I got hurt, and I was pissed, and I was like, I'm not doing this again.
I'm
So
not
then,
doing this no more.
yeah, the next year it was, well, we're gonna do flag football, so it'll
Yep,
be fine. You'll be fine. I was like,
be
no, I
fine.
won't. I will not. I will not be fine. But they convinced me and I played and I got hurt. And so it was just like, but every year it became this big thing with the family trying to force me to play this
Mhm.
stupid game. And it was, needless to say, when I was old enough to not have to go to holiday meals, I stopped going, especially if the turkey bowl is going to happen.
He said,
But listen,
"Not when I go
you
back."
started talking a little bit about what's going on for this great weekend. So there's a kickoff cookout
Okay.
happening.
Yes, a whole weekend with the whole
Yeah.
question. Okay, so before we even get to this exciting with this kickoff, right? Let's
Yeah.
come in. Okay,
Yeah.
remember? Okay, some of y'all who tuned in to be this, Eli came in hot. Bro came in hot. Bro won't playing. All right. Bro was
No.
not playing. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I made a TikTok the other day and my friends were like, this is so real. And I just told them, I said, I'm tired of being an adult. I'm tired. Take it back. I don't want this no more. I'm tired. Right. That I feel like ever since COVID, it's just been COVID nonstop. It's been 2020 nonstop with fists, with violence on auto pay. Needless to say, what I said all that to say, I have not gotten a break. Most people that I know have not gotten a break. Like, no matter where you turn, as a LGBTQ person, as a trans person, as any kind of marginalized person, as a person of color, if you exist at any intersection, if you are poor and you just trying to live paycheck to paycheck, no matter what intersection you exist at, it seems like the only time we have events is when, obviously, when someone needs something, aka education, or when there's a problem, when something bad has happened. And what's
Yeah.
unfortunate is that in most cases, it's hard to put the events together. It's hard to get the people to come out because as much as they want to come out, they get tired. They get burnt out. I love
Yeah.
to learn, but if every time I come out as a trans person, as a queer person, every time I come out, it's always educating me about myself, educating me about how I can be safer being me. Dr. Julian Glover, a good friend of mine, says safety is an illusion. And she, as a trans
Oh,
feminine non-binary
I
person who's,
I need to meet her because I have been saying for the
yep,
longest time,
and
there
that was,
are no safe spaces,
does not
period.
exist.
Stop saying safe because there aren't any, especially for multi-marginalized people like us, Black, brown, indigenous, trans folks, or non-binary folks. And when I say trans, I'm including our
Mhm.
non-binary, two-spirit, gender diverse, gender expansive folks as well. So, I mean, and I've got, like I said, you and I probably could fill up more than one episode of Frankly Speaking with all of the things.
Hopefully I'll be back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll have you back. Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Um,
like the
yeah,
hard part of it is when that's all the messaging you get, which is still positive. Like, be happy, we love you, you're loved. But
yeah,
I work in HIV and testing, and there's a stigma that every time, if you're gay, if you're queer, and you've ever been into an organization, you see information about HIV and testing. But if you've ever gone to your doctor's office, pretty sure you haven't seen it. Like, many straight folks never get an HIV test and don't know anything about it, never go to places about it, never see this, right? Our messaging is different. And so if every time I'm as a worker instructed to engage with you under the premise that I have to educate you, then all of my events are about either education, discrimination, stigma, and these things are important. These things are important, but these are not our entire identity.
yeah,
And the hardest thing that I've noticed in community is that we suffer from isolation and we suffer from trauma. There's a collective trauma. And one thing that trauma will do is make you isolated. And so if you want
Mm.
to go out to community, but you know that you're going to go out into a space that may trigger you and or is only educational, and you might not even be in a place to receive a lesson, you may not engage. But in all
Yeah.
of that, I didn't transition like I've talked to many of my brothers. I didn't transition to be trans. I transitioned to be me. I have a good friend, JT. He said, I am not 50-50 anything. I'm 100% me. So when
Mm.
we were thinking of something to do for the weekend,
Yeah.
I said, why not have a weekend to just be you? Just chill. Just actually be able to rest. People know me to create spaces, and people ask me, Dex, what is your secret to creating event spaces? And I said, I solve the problem of loneliness. As long as
Mm.
we're together, they say if you build it, they will come. I'm not here to solve your problem. Other people will do that. But if I can just talk just enough and find out who kind of works in a group, I'll make a space for that. You guys have to figure it out on your own. I'm not supposed to gatekeep that, which is interesting because
Yeah.
my line name as a fraternity brother is Gatekeeper, and my line theme was Sanctuary of the Phoenix. So when I thought of this weekend of a sanctuary, it is the ability for us to be normal. I did a presentation
Yeah.
for Henrico Mental Health County earlier this year for their mental health professionals, and one thing that we were talking about was, again, not having a safe space, but safer spaces, but just being able to see the whole person. And we talk about, oh, you're a whole person, you're a whole person. But our programming is, well, we need trans people for this, or we need bi people for this, or we need queer people for this, because these are the only bad things that are happening to you. So
Yeah.
when I'm with my brothers, when I'm with my family, when I'm with my friends, for a few minutes, I can forget that the world is like a raging dumpster fire. And I can actually be present and enjoy it. And so
Yeah.
be true to you is an opportunity for other people to experience, an opportunity to be normal. When they brought us in, it was funny. Richmond has a program and they're launching it. It's a grant program. And the idea is just normalizing our lived experiences, not making them any bigger, but showing like kind of like career day. I came in as a person that does, community health work to show other youth 10 years younger, 15 years younger, this is what you can do in 10 to 15 years. You're going to be a normal person, as scary as it sounds. You're going to be another person in
Yeah.
community. Community is like a house. A house is built of bricks. A house is a unit defined by the things that make it. The bricks. You are the bricks. You are community. So you deserve a space to just be. And you know
Yeah.
what? I realized, like, yo, we're adults. We have fun. We deserve a jam-packed weekend of shenanigans. So why not have a jam-packed weekend of shenanigans? I know I'm the plug, so I know a lot of people. And so for me, it's almost like a birthday, because my birthday is the only time I get people together. And it's like, yo, this will be the time for people that you would never think to get together to actually be
Yeah.
in space and share an experience. It's not about solving a problem of your differences. It's about, we're all people. We all have likes and things that you like. Y'all might find out you have things in common. So if you show the thousands of events, now it's like, now it puts the thousands of events in
Now,
context. Because people are like, this abusive ass weekend. That's exactly what my brother
what
Tyree told
is
me. He
this?
said, bro, no, in the original version, I had a dodgeball tournament and then I had the ball, and they were like, who's trying to go to a ball with a black eye, bro? And I was like, I didn't really think about that. You're right. That's me. So
Well, is
instead,
this is what starts. This is
I
what
doubled
starts the
down and just
kicker.
gave them more activities. So like, instant, that's fine. I can be abusive in another way. We're gonna give you so many
I mean,
things.
look, there's this, there's that, there's the ball. I mean, there is a poster for the whole
Yes.
week.
So the first one is the
Yes.
Be True to You cook off. And actually in the chat is Niona Byers. This is the founder of ETSI Health Clinic, and that's where we're going to be hosting it. This is actually
Oh,
sponsored by a group called MSM and Trans Lives Matter. When I mentioned Coco earlier, the lovely person that's going to be doing the ball that I'm going to talk about, this is the
yeah.
nonprofit that she directs. And so,
Okay.
because again, this is the intersection of a lot of our lived experiences. So between MSM and Trans Lives Matter and our lovely partner ETSI, who has been an amazing sponsor, we're going to be hosting a kick-off and cookout in basically ETSI's home spot. There's a lot of people, you're not familiar with our area, but I live in Virginia.
Yeah.
And I live in an area called Hampton Roads. So there's actually 7 different cities. So it's like our version of New York. We're 7 cities, but we're really spread out. And
Yeah.
about 3 of the cities are located in what we call the peninsula. So there we have to go through what we call the Hampton Roads Bridge Terminal. That's that really, really long bridge y'all be seeing in Twitter. And y'all be like, I'm not driving
Oh,
over
I've
that.
heard.
That's
Well,
our
I
bridge.
haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I drive that every day. Like that's where we are. But it's hard to get to these spaces sometimes. So
Mm.
they have filled a need in that area. So we want people to come and see the space. So they're having a cookout. We're going to be in the back cooking out, chilling, have a couple of like
Nice.
hair care products vendors coming out. They have brought in a couple of haircut specialists. They're going to do barbers
Oh,
and braiders. So there'll be a sign up sheet for it, but it's for trans folks to be able to come and get a fresh cut, to get their hair cut, because having access to affirming spaces to be able to do that is hard. You already know,
Yes.
my friend. So we're going to go
Mhm.
ahead and take that away. I want you to get nice and fresh and, got to feel confident. And a fresh cut is one way to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just a beautiful kickback. We're going to have music, food, vibes. We're going to start it off really nice and chill. We do
Sweet.
have another community partner. So later that night at 11 o'clock, I didn't give you that flyer, but there is something called Pandora's Box. If you enjoy
Okay.
adult entertainment, then I would definitely recommend you check out the Facebook and check out the information for Pandora's Box. It's
Is
just
there a poster on your? I gotta see the poster.
there is a poster on the Facebook, and I will send it to you. It is basically it's an adult party, an adult entertainment party. So
Okay.
just an opportunity to have late night fun shenanigans, the usual stuff. But
Okay.
Pandora's Box is a nice opportunity to just be able to whoosh, right? That's not my event. That's with one of the partner organizations. Again,
Okay.
for folks that may want to enjoy that kind of experience. And that wraps up the Friday night. Then we hit Saturday with the community day. I don't know. I
And
think I
that's
sent you.
this. Is that this?
No, that is the last night of it. I don't think I sent you the community flyer.
Oh
No
yeah.
worries. There were so many flyers. So there's a community day. All right, I gotta send that one. There's a
Because you got
community
to be
day.
so extra.
Entirely. My friends know. So again, big Dex energy. But community day is going to be actually co-sponsored with my job. So I work at the LGBT
Okay.
Life Center. They are reinitiating some really cool events with throughout the center. So they were like, oh, let's do this opportunity to kind of partner and host this space. So there's this awesome space called Norfolk Indoor Sports. It's 8,000 square feet and it's indoor sports. It's got the turf, got the netting, all this stuff. So we're
Um,
going to have Pride inside. Basically, it's a bunch of tabling. I've got about 14 vendors and tablers lined up that have confirmed, and about another 5 that are going to be educational. And these are everything ranging from
nice.
like hormone stuff or like medical stuff all the way to like just social stuff. Very, very diverse. And while they're tabling, they can kind of peruse, talk, hang out. We'll have music, and there'll be a section for like family yard games, cornhole, all that stuff. Like a little cookout inside, like Pride inside. That is from 11 to 2 at Norfolk Indoor, which will be dope. And that's a family day. So that is definitely,
Okay.
we really do that for the parents to come out, for the parents and the youths to come out. I call them youths. I said that correctly with
The
a S. You
youth.
did not hear that. The
The
youths.
youths.
The youths. Okay.
Yep.
Under 18 is the youths. But because they asked me to speak to the youths and they were like, we think you should do that. I said, somebody said I'm a certified adult. Oh, I'm certified now. Great. So yes, youths, because I
They've
think I'm a
actually
youth.
asked me to speak to the youths too. I've done it a couple years in a row. So hey,
Right? Because we're responsible adults
there's
somehow. So I don't
something
know.
about us.
But the ball flyer. This is the exciting event
Okay, here
right
you
here.
go.
Okay.
Mhm.
This is, and I will send this is the old flyer set. I gotta get you all the new flyers. No worry, friend.
Oh,
No worry, that was on me. Because I have a whole new marketing pack. No worries. But
okay.
we are doing the trans ball. This is Virginia's first trans ball. Trans themed,
Nice.
transcentric, trans inspired. It's not solely trans because we exist at different intersections. But our grand
Yeah.
prizes are for the top 1,000 categories are going to be for trans man realness, femme queen realness, femme queen face, and best dressed. And so the ball is about, I want to say, $11,000 to $12,000 in cash prizes that night.
Wow.
Entry is $30 for the ticket. VIP is $50. It's pay at the door, all that little fun stuff. It's an opportunity for us to celebrate the legacy that was created on top of the lineage that is to be created.
Yeah.
My Coco is not playing games. She has been calling out Coco's life work, very much like mine is doing this. One of her life work has been documenting the Virginia scene since she's been involved.
Oh,
And so she's
wow.
been calling out, she has literally been tagging people, and it's created such anxiety on Facebook because people are like, it was cute, but now she's calling out too many people. She's calling everybody out. And then she's got clips from different moments, but it's cool because as a person coming into
Yeah.
the scene and bringing people in the scene, you get to see the people who laid that foundation. And I might know
Yeah.
them as the aunties now, but there was a time when, they were still coming out. So we get an opportunity. She's calling them all back in to be able to say, come on, let's show them what Virginia has to offer. And I'm bringing a lot of people who've never experienced ballroom, who are walking the ball, who have no idea, but are like, I want to do this. I want to try this. I want to be a part. And to them, they feel connected to the history and they want to learn the history. They want to be a part of the history. And so the ball has been such an exciting experience because we're going to have, some vendors and all that fun stuff. But the categories, there's about 28. It's a lot of them, but there's a category for every identity. There's a category for everybody. So if you come, you
Nice.
got a chance to walk away with some money. Also, for my lovely black and brown folks, if you are a lovely man who has sex with men, Or, no, we'll start with them. If you're a lovely man who has sex with men and you come out, we're doing 2 surveys that night. One of the surveys is with NSU VaxFax. If you actually do that survey with us, like 20 minutes, you're going to get a $25 Visa gift card. You do the second
Hey,
survey, which is with the Life Center, you get another $25 Visa gift card. Remember how I told you that ticket was $30? Just saying.
hey.
If you are a Black and brown trans person, come on out. We want to check out, like, right now we're just really looking at COVID perspectives and how they impact the Black community, and Black and brown queer voices are frequently left out of narratives. So I know my folks are like, why are you only looking at Black? I said, because unfortunately when it comes to COVID vaccines, Black folks are less likely to get it, including Black queer people who may not have access, who also may not have addresses. And we're giving away free COVID testing kits, because how many people, many of my friends unfortunately have experienced homelessness, so they didn't get the government COVID test kits because they didn't have an address. So we're going to be giving out things like that to be able to help folks, different kind of swag bags. So it's like a different kind of community partnership. But again, if you come out, you may have an opportunity to qualify for a survey that'll actually give you a Visa gift card in the same night. So now to that blue flyer, right? Because the ball is going to be insane.
How much is the Visa gift card? Is it just a
25.
25? Okay,
25
but you
for
can
both,
get
but if you qualify, you can
okay.
get 2. Yeah. Yeah, just come find
Okay.
us, because trust me, people will come find us to get their money. They're not playing. They will come find us.
They're gonna
The
pay their
doors.
30 and they're gonna go right directly to
Speaking of,
the
because we have 28 categories, the doors open at 3. The ball starts at 5. And I love queer
oh,
folks, and I love me as a person of color. And I know we believe on CP time. Y'all, we might start 2 minutes past, but with 28 categories and the rest of my weekend shenanigans, we don't have time to be starting at 9. So we will be starting at 5. That came from Coco herself. So I'm just telling you what the lady told me. So we will be starting at 5. Side note, I will also be in a brunch. There's a Supreme Invasion brunch. I will be in a brunch Saturday afternoon. I'm going to all these places. So when somebody says, "Oh, this weekend was tired," I'm going to all these places. So I already know I'm gonna crash on Monday, but that's okay. All right.
I
So I'll
hope
be in
you
a
took
brunch on.
Monday off.
I did. I had the vacation.
Okay.
Um,
Very smart.
but but and we do have some hotels in Portsmouth as well, so we're gonna get the hotel list up as well. But I'll be there. There are several brunches in the area, so I'll be at one brunch, and then we have a Sunday brunch as well. But that blue flyer, I gotta definitely talk about that blue flyer real quick,
Okay,
because
I'll
that's
bring
the
that
one
back up.
flyer
Hold on.
that you
The
definitely have,
blue flyer.
that I
Here
don't
we
get a chance
go.
to talk about much. So this is the spot. Now, if anybody has done late night shenanigans, especially in the queer community, you know we are night owls. So if you don't want to go home, I'm gonna tell you guys at
Well,
1
you
o'clock.
youths,
The
you
youths, okay,
youths,
point.
you youngins, not
Let,
me.
you're right. Oh, I
I'm
like
in
that. You're
bed
right. I'm
by
a youngin.
8.
I'm not a youth. I like that. I'm a youngin. That's I'm gonna claim that now.
Okay.
Thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
So the spot. This is Horace Hookah Lounge, a really cool place. It's a new place in Portsmouth that's opened up, and they have so graciously offered to work with us. So typically,
Nice.
Horace is only open until 2 a.m., but for the ball, they are opening until 5. So you can go get your life after the ball. From 10 to 5, come through, enjoy. It is New York style. So it's very discreet. You got to kind of walk up some stairs and go around, and it's very chill, discreet space.
Mm.
It's BYOB. If you come before, y'all need to get there before 1. If you come before 1, it's free. So please come before 1. Come before 1, it's free. It's BYOB $20. And if you have a hookah, you can get the hookahs there for 25. If you come after 2, it is all the prices go up. So it's a $20 entry, and then all those prices almost double. So just come on in before, but once you get in, you can kind of stay until 2 a.m. But it's also a kickback spot. People can come and relax. It's a place to just kind of decompress after being in the vault. And it starts at 10 for people who might want to leave early and just want to be able to enjoy just mingling and hanging out. And again, even if you don't go to the ball, you can still go to the spot, enjoy some hookah, and hang out. I'm just saying. So I wanted to make sure I shouted out the spot, because Horace,
Wow.
like I said, he's staying open for us till 5/6 in the morning. His staff
Wow.
said, "Let's do it. We really want community to know that we're here." And he said, "I want to give you guys the space so that we can, we can share." And he's like, in Portsmouth, it can be a little dangerous. So he definitely wanted to be able to say, "Here, I'm here for the community. Come talk to me. Come meet me." Sunday. Sunday.
Ah,
Last 2 events.
okay. I was like, there's more.
Last 2 events. You got the backstory with it. Last 2 events. Sunday.
I
There's
mean,
the
wait a
beauty.
minute. I have to ask a question here because now I thought that I had a lot of energy and that I could talk a lot. And you can even ask some of my friends. They will say, now I think I have met my match. Dex,
Huzzah!
because you have
Gotcha, friend.
So go on. Brunch, Monday. What do we got?
Right, it's the last bit. This last friend, this you don't think you understand how ready I am for this. So Sunday is going to be the Beauty from Ashes brunch. Carlos, who was in the chat, is actually the show director for that brunch. So he
Oh,
has a brunch that he will have in Portsmouth. Y'all should definitely check it out. Another one we're going to be performing in, and he creates this space on a monthly. And so in this case, he has I think except for him, an entire trans cast. And again, one of our trans cast members was on, I believe, season 3 of legendary Mother Yamamoto, Aoki. So we have people kind of all coming out for this experience. And then to cap off my weekend of shenanigans, I've had 3 lovely individuals who have stuck with me. So if you can imagine how this sounds, imagine what the planning for this is like. So these lovely 3 individuals have been with me for a long time as I've been doing this, and just in general, they are all involved in their communities in very, very different ways.
yeah.
And so one of the other things when I told you about competition that's important was highlighting trans competition, and we talk about pageantry. And so one thing that is kind of been in the formation is the NTSA pageant system. So it'll be, we're kind of launching this new endeavor of a title that allows us to kind of have this intersection of pageantry and sports, which is really competition and celebrating all the things that we are. And so we have 3 title holders, and that we will have a crowning ceremony. So it'll be our Mr., Miss, and MX title holder crowning ceremony that we will have that
Nice.
Friday night at 37th and Zen. I haven't posted their
Is
pictures,
that
but
coming
this
this
isn't.
Friday night, or is this next Friday night?
Sorry, Sunday. My name.
Oh,
Sunday
okay.
night. It's the
Sunday.
last event, the Sunday night.
Not this weekend, but next weekend.
The Be True to You is the final event. It's what we finish with. And
Okay.
the final, because I haven't posted their pictures, this is the even better reveal, because I was like, you know what? This will be the best. So we will be honoring Clay Weaver, because I'm not about to say his
Oh
last name. I
yeah,
love you. I love
Clay.
you, but I'm not. I know he's going to fuss at me later, but I love your name. Anybody check him out on Facebook. You'll see him in my posts. I'm not saying your other name, sir. I'm not disrespecting your name like that. So, Mr.
Well,
NTSA Emeritus.
Clay, my son. I don't know if Clay has shared that with you.
That's my
Clay is
brother.
Clay's my son. See, so oh my gosh, you're my long to lost son too.
There you go. See, now
Just
that's
call
why you
me
met your
Pop
match.
from now on. Just
Come
call
on,
me
get
Pop.
more dads. I'm here for this.
Yeah,
Clay will
there
be our
you go.
Mister.
Yeah. Well,
Brandon
he
in the
changed.
chat.
I will say this: he changed his Facebook page, Clay AW.
Thank you,
So
because he already knows. He ain't playing with people. Brandon will be the MX title holder, the MX Emeritus, and then Alexis Walker, Miss Vivian E.O. McCrae will be our Miss NTSA. They will have a full real bring out to you everything to bring it forth. But these 3 have been working so hard behind the scenes that I know that some people might not make it to the weekend, and that's okay. I'm gonna tire you out. That's fine. But I definitely want to make sure that these 3 individuals are able to have an opportunity not only to be shouted out and celebrated, but to have a platform to continue the work that each of them do. They all represent very different communities, everything from leather to drag to pageantry to community service to just parents, because many of them they're all parents. Like, they represent all these different intersections, and I couldn't think of a greater group of friends that would take this and help build a legacy for future trans individuals to take it and mold it into something that they want to see and manifest, to show the world that this is us. Just like our community day, this is us. We are a part of the world. We're just like you. We just come at it a little differently.
yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that it is so, trans focused, but open to the entire community. Because in a lot of these spaces, one of the things that I was a late bloomer. I came out as trans in 2015. I've always been a member of the community, been advocating for the LGBTQIA2S plus community here in Omaha, Nebraska for decades now, many decades. Was one of the folks who created our Pride organization that still is running Pride today. So I've done a lot of things. And, one of the things that I noticed early on after coming out as trans, with all of the ways in which we have seen forward movement for our community, the trans community, even within our community, has been shoved aside, pushed aside, told to be quiet. Like, we can't try to do this legislation if you're too loud, because it's going to make the whole community look bad. Like, I was having to educate my community members who I had been advocating for my
Mhm.
whole life.
Yep.
And I'm just like, are you going to really do me this way? Like, this is how you're going to do me at this point? Like, so not cool. So, I mean, I love that there's this shift. I love that you got pride inside. I love that you're putting the T first. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The
I yes, the
plus
tomato, lettuce,
community.
bacon, all the other ways. The
Yeah.
tomato, lettuce, bacon. I like that you did mention that there's a very interesting experience that we're in a very interesting time in history right now.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that has spawned of this weekend that it's very chaotic. And one part of my job is helping people transition, which if you've ever done that, it's chaotic.
Mhm.
It's no cookie cutter way to do it. And
No.
trying to explain to people about what it's like to be trans it's really like a Charlie Brown squiggle. It's very much it's chaotic. And one way that I want people to be able to feel that it's one way to I know for some people hearing about this weekend gave them so much anxiety, and that is one way we can share part of this experience of being trans. But it
Yeah.
is part of this experience of holding multiple identities, multiple spaces, wanting to be in multiple spaces and hold multiple spaces at the same time, and maybe not being able to do that. um, uh, to me, this event is like a work of art. It's an opportunity for
Mm.
us to kind of connect and share that way. And like you mentioned, things are changing, and as generationally, you'll see. And I'm seeing that this new generation, like you said, they're on hormones. I got 18-year-olds who have voices deeper than me, beards bigger than mine, and just have transitioned. And in talking to them versus talking to elders like my elder Charlie Burton, who's my big brother and one of my mentors, one thing I realized is that w- to be transgender has changed the definition. We're not talking about the same lived experience, and we have very
Yeah.
different lived experiences all happening simultaneously. One part that I know will be fun for people to find out in a later episode. I didn't grow up with my dad. He was out of my life for 20 years. I met him in 2017. I reached out for like 96 cents and a background check, which is a fun story. Left a
Mm.
crazy message with my brother because I was an only child. Found out I had met the rest of my siblings and met my dad after 20 years. Left a voicemail of, hey, this is your brother, this is who I was, this is who I am, looking for our dad. And my dad answered the call, and as an old
Wow.
Baptist man with a very religious family, had to make a decision of, do I accept, what do I do? And we've been on this journey of
Mm.
connection, rebuilding, and like the upcoming book, loving myself back to health. But in doing this, one thing that
At
has
your book?
yes, I am working on a book.
Oh,
So
okay.
other things, but it's going to be coming out later this year. One thing he's kind of shown to me was, and he said to me, he says time and time again, is he says, learn from the past, look towards the future, but you gotta live for today.
Mm.
And he says
Mhm.
it over and over and over again. It's one of the few things he says. And when I met him,
Mm.
just kind of like you said, you met your match. I met somebody who thinks exactly like me, talks like me. It's the coolest intersection of biology. And when I
Mm.
see him, I've never been able to see my future. And now I see someone who is my future. And what I
Mm.
realize, like time being an illusion, just like security, I'm looking at the future. I'm his past, and we exist in the present. And that is the exact same thing that is happening right now in our communities. And to me, my generation, I look at our charges. We are charged with building infrastructure. Being trans is now becoming a thing where we have to have ethics, guidelines, codes to make sure that we this legislation stuff we can fight that. But now it means that we're
Yeah.
laying infrastructure. It's the most bittersweet problem to have. So it's like this is the charge that I see as part of my lifetime. I'm like, whoa. My past was we didn't have a word for this. The future is this generation saying that gender is really a construct, but the present is me building an infrastructure for this future to take that and dismantle that construct. Maybe I'm not the one to dismantle it, like you said. I'm not going to see equal pay in my lifetime, but I'm going to build the foundation for it. And
Yeah.
part of that foundation is rest, recharge. Because if you don't rest, if you don't pour into you, you can't pour into anyone else. You can't pour out of your lack. You can only pour out of your abundance. And part of that inspiration for the weekend was a brother who told me, he says, we as trans people must have spaces to rest. And we're not
Yeah.
afforded that. Be true
Well,
to
and
you is that space.
absolutely. And I love that. I mean, mic drop. When do the baskets come around to make the donation for
If
the
you need a
church
speaker,
service?
please reach out to me.
For
I am
the church
definitely taking
service
inquiries.
today. I think that we should talk about maybe doing some things together because I love your energy. Like I said, it's a lot like mine. I'm so bummed that Avalisa wasn't able to join us today. So you're definitely going to have to come back and join us for another episode because Avalisa actually, through some DNA testing, was able to locate her father. And so there's a story, and I'm not going to tell her story because it's her story. But I know that the two of you could probably talk a lot about what that experience was like for you, and just how important that was. And so it just really so cool. And I mean, you know, you easily filled up an hour.
I was like, making sure we covered everything. We're good.
I'm like, okay, well, we out.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Because I'm about to go to work anyway. So like,
you got to give you the applause. You know, Dex, seriously, thank you so much for coming on the show, for everything that you're doing in Virginia, in your area. I hope, I'm certain that we're going to just continue to see your star rise. I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so grateful that Clay connected us. And for those of you who are watching who are in the area, next weekend is the big event. Looks like we have a question. Jade has been asking to play football. Is there a trans-friendly league in Omaha for kids, or a way to find out if they are friendly?
Looks like you to pin that one.
You know what? I'm going to have to put a pin in that. And that's right. And you just let Jade know that I know some folks here in Omaha who actually do play football. Not in a trans league, but it certainly could be something that we could look into. And who knows? I mean, this is the National Transgender Sports Association. Maybe we can get a local chapter started up here with the help of Dex at some point. And now Dex has frozen on us. I don't know if we lost him or not. We might have lost him. I hope we didn't, but he's frozen. Anyway, all right. I'm gonna say that Dex has gone out on us here, and I'm gonna just send him to the back of the stream. But thank you all so much for joining. I mean, honestly, I feel like I could talk all night at this point, just because of everything that is going on in and around the world. Like I said, if you haven't already checked it out, please go check out erininthe.substack.com. There's just a plethora of information. She's just an incredible about posting about what's happening with legislation across the U.S. I did hear recently that the chair of the Nebraska State Legislature is actually going to make one of the trans bills his priority bill, which really sucks. I believe it's LB 575, which is the sports bill. We didn't get a chance to talk to Dex about that, but like I said, I'll probably invite him back on. But just a couple of quick reminders as we get ready to shut the show down. Laws won't make anyone less trans, won't make anyone less gay, won't make anyone less queer. Laws won't make anyone less gender nonconforming. Laws won't make gender less of a spectrum. Laws won't make sexuality less of a spectrum. Laws won't erase us. And that's from the LGBT Life Center. I believe that's okay. We got Dex back. Not sure if that was is the LGBT Life Center.
My bad.
Is that your Facebook page, LGBT Life Center?
Oh wait,
is that it?
I'm trying to hear you.
You can't hear me. Hello. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I can hear you.
Oh. 1 second, friend. I can't.
Oh. We lost him again. It's all good. Yeah, that is the LGBT Life Center out of Norfolk, Virginia. The little thing that I just read there was out of there. I think it was. Can you hear me now? There we go.
Right.
It's all good. I was just reading from, I think, what is the LGBT Life Center is in Norfolk, Virginia?
Correct. Yes, of
Norfolk?
the
Okay.
titles that I have. So I'm the Transgender Resource Coordinator currently at the LGBT Life Center. We have a variety of different community resources. We have several organizations that are community-based organizations in the area, and the Life Center is one of those. And
Nice.
so we're going to do tabling tonight at one of the local bars. And so if you're looking for like testing, resource referral, housing assistance, resource navigation, we're one of the agencies that provides that. So it's one of the many hats that I wear.
Very cool. Yeah, I was just reading off of these little cards from the Facebook page. Laws won't make anyone less trans. Laws won't make anyone less gay. Just read that. That's what I was reading as I was trying to fill time. I wasn't sure if you were
I
coming
love
back.
you. Yes, but I'm glad they put them up there because we get a lot of people coming from out of state now that are coming up here because their states are starting to ban things. I actually ended up getting on a call yesterday with an organization in the South that's connecting those states with other states that
Mm,
are like essentially sanctuary states and it's starting with that, like the legislation, and it's not. I don't know if you'd mentioned like one about drag queens, where it's something as there's a proposed legislation where it's like if you as an adult go into a bathroom knowingly, right, knowing that there's a minor in that bathroom and you have different genitalia, right, than what is
yep.
assigned at birth, and you're in that bathroom, you could be charged with like a sexual crime, like a sexual misdemeanor.
Yeah.
You could be registered as a
Sex crime,
predator,
right?
right? And like again, if this is something that they target drag queens, but it definitely affects trans people. And again, if you're 18 and you've been on hormones, you wouldn't want someone like me going into a women's restroom. And then again, the biggest question is how do you police that?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
So now we have those questions. So
Oh yeah,
mhm,
it's super messy. None of it makes sense. Now I do show that on Aaron in the Morning's page. Let me go ahead and pull this up
mhm.
so that you can see it
Jessica's just
too.
mentioning him.
Yeah, her.
Her.
It's all
Wow.
it's all
Yes,
it's all
Aaron with an E.
yeah.
Huzzah.
Oh,
Now I know how
no.
to find it because you had mentioned it. And I was like, let me find this show.
Let me see. Okay, share screen, and I have to do which one is it? Oh, it's this one. Okay, so I'm going to share this. So this is Aaron's website.
Okay.
And on the website, there's like this is the risk map.
Mhm,
And so, this little like risk map, there we go. If I make it a little bit bigger, but
mhm.
like so even Virginia is
Yep.
kind of in that orange, which is still within a
Yes.
high risk.
Yes.
The safest places are here on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, although Arizona is light blue, which is low risk, um, and New Mexico and Colorado. And then over here, kind of up more of the upper
Mhm.
east, Illinois is safest state with protections, and then up New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, up there. But again, she's written some really great articles and shares about, like, she created this map and then explains what the map is about and what methodology was used to actually create this map. And then kind of goes through kind of state by state where everybody falls. And then there are I think somewhere on her page she actually even lists, and there's a couple different places where you can find some of that information, but again, it's whoops, I did not mean to do that.
No, it starts in 15 minutes.
There we
Yeah,
go.
you're working extra hard tonight.
We're just gonna start over. Serious though, I'm kind of in the place where I feel like I could really talk all night long because I'm so angry about what's going on around the world.
Sounds like you're
Let's
going to be
see.
making your own personal episode tonight. Look at that
Yeah.
motivation.
Now this is
Mhm.
Michelle. I wish I had the resources to move somewhere safer. I don't know what we will do if LB 574 passes. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I thought was really great, if we want to focus on happier news, is so in the Minnesota area, there was a senator there that actually proposed and legislation that got passed that they're considering themselves a sanctuary city
Mm,
for folks to move to,
mhm.
um, if they are in areas, Michelle, that are like Nebraska, where there's proposed legislation that could potentially pass. We also have, I don't know if you watch any of Rachel Maddow at all, Dex, but we
A
have
little bit.
a senator here. We'll just do a shout out quick to Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, who's been filibustering almost every bill that has been brought forward. And she is saying that she's going to continue to do that throughout the legislative sessions, because until they pull LB 574 and LB 575. She's like, I'm gonna filibuster the shit out of this.
Yeah, and has to. You gotta fight for it.
And
And like on
so
a positive note, I'm glad Michelle has been very active in the chat. It's beautiful to see parents. That's one thing I will say, regardless of the struggle that there is facing, that we do face. One of the best parts of working with folks now is being able to see the number of parents who genuinely want to help their children. And yeah, it hurts a little bit when it's like parents like, I don't know what to do. My child is struggling and I don't know what to do. But it's also a refreshing experience to see parents say, I can't do it alone and it takes a village. So help me find my tribe, help me build my tribe, help me have the resources to help take care of my children, because we all knew what that felt like. Each of us have those insecurities and those demons we struggle with. So to be able to have parents who are saying, I care about my child and I want to make sure I have the right to take care of my child the way that I see fit. And so when you're taking that, assuming, there's a lot of hurt that comes with that. But again, it's very beautiful where you can say, let's just acknowledge that these parents, they're listening to their kids, they're exploring. And not only are they listening to their kids and they're exploring, they're willing to ask themselves hard questions about gender and transition alongside and question how they saw the world. And these are kids who are just like, maybe we need to talk about this. And these are parents who are saying, you know what? I don't understand. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I'm cool with it. Maybe it makes me uncomfortable. But you know what? I love you. You're my child. And my job is to fight for you. So as uncomfortable as this makes me, or as confused and as curious and as scared as I am, I'm going to do this because I love you. And I'm like, yo, that is beautiful.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of that here in Omaha, because again, LB 574 is basically just trying to strip the right of parents to be able to provide that affirming care. Ever since I came out in 2015, like I started speaking of happy. Well, actually I started it way before 2015, but I became really active in educating the community around who we are as trans. And for myself, I'm Two-Spirit. I'm also Indigenous. And so, educating folks about like I don't want to tell people to Google it. Like I'm not that guy. I'm just not, because guess what? If you're doing any searches that are even slightly right, you're going to be fed a bunch of crap from Google that is like inaccurate, doesn't make sense, like is not the truth. Like, most parents that'll reach out to me, the first place I send them after I have a conversation with them is the WPATH standards of care. And it's like, look, if you're looking at supporting your kiddo in that way, this is the first thing you need to know. Like there has been research for decades on this, on the use of hormone blockers, all of it. And so it's just like, we can't just be listening to this tiny group of people that are unsatisfied with their transition. It's like somebody said the other day, they're like, would they do the same thing if someone came forward and said they had a breast augmentation that they were unhappy with? And so therefore they're going to push legislation to make sure that nobody could ever have a breast augmentation again. And it's just like, that's basically what's happening. They're listening to the small percentage of people who were unhappy or unsatisfied with. And here's one of the things that I was going to share earlier, early on in my transition. So not only was I a late bloomer, because I came out at 50 as trans. Now I've had a number of other coming outs, but at 50 was when it started. My trans experience. And I came out at a conservative university. And in 2.5 years, I was literally like, I had to file a number of different Title IX complaints because people weren't honoring my pronouns. They weren't honoring my name. Like I was on the fast track, right? I was like, look, I need to get gender affirming top surgery like yesterday. I need to get on these hormones. I need to be in a place where I feel comfortable in my own skin. And work was a shit show. Like it was horrible because I was literally the snowplow, right? In the blizzard, of misunderstanding around what it is to be transgender. And I was plowing ahead so that people could come up behind me and they didn't have to worry about it. Right. And like I was already laying some of that. And trust me when I say it wasn't fun. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It was probably some of the darkest days. But my point is I started to look at, what does trans mean for me? Who am I? What? And I mean, when I first came out as trans, I spent the first 6 months not saying anything to anyone other than people closest to me. And I was reading books, watching documentaries. Like, I have watched so many documentaries and read so many books about trans people and their transitions and what was that like. I've read the WPATH Standards of Care. I've read all kinds of things published by the Transgender Law Center, all these other places. Like, I've looked all this stuff up. I've learned about bottom surgery. It's not something that I'm choosing, but it's something I know a lot about. And I started to think to myself, I got to the point where I was like, who am I taking tea for? Am I taking tea for me, really? Or am I taking tea so that my expression will be more firm for you? Well, you know what? I bought these glasses specifically in 2020 for Zoom meetings where I knew I was going to be on camera, because I'm like,
Yes.
Glasses are not gendered, y'all, but we've gendered things. We've gendered clothing, we've gendered rings, we've gendered glasses, we've gendered hairstyles, like all of these things that we've gendered. But I had to start unpacking all of the ways in which that was forced upon me. I've talked to women who were born assigned female and identify as female, and that is, what honors them is she, her pronouns. But they say they struggled to have their hair cut shorter in a world that, like, women with short hair, people are like, like when I was younger and the first time I got my hair cut really short, I snuck out basically out of the house. My mom had set up a hair appointment. It's the first time she's going to send me off by myself. And I want to say I was like 12, maybe 11, and always had hair down to my hind end. So I go down and I heard my mom talking to the gal saying, just a trim, I'm sending my kid down. And I go down and I get there and I'm like, I want it cut short. I want it this short. And so
I want to knock on.
This
We're
stylist
not starting completely over.
Yeah. This stylist was like, that's not what your mom said when she called. And I'm like, it's my hair. So she cut it and I went home and my mom pitched a fit. But like,
so.
What I would hear though, as my hair was growing back out, was, you are so beautiful and that hair just makes you ugly. And I mean, I was born in 1965. I'm not a young man. I'm a person of age.
Right. Seasoned is what we call that.
Yes,
seasoned.
I'm seasoned, very well seasoned. And and I mean, so it's like there are things that happen to me as a part of the ways in which we socialize young girls that don't happen to young boys. They just don't. And so this is part of like going back to the beginning of our conversation where we're talking about us being superheroes, because we are. We are like looking at all these things in our lives and the ways in which we need to unpack some of these, the gender binary that was thrown at us and all these other things that we've had to kind of be forced to adhere to. So I just think it's important to note, lots of things have changed over time, and I appreciate that, but we still have a long way to go, especially with all of the legislation that's happening across the US. I'm, fingers crossed that LB 574 and LB 575 both die. It's not looking hopeful, but I'm hoping that they do. And I don't know if there's any legislation that's been proposed in your area.
They're watching to avoid. We've had a couple near scares. Right now, it's more so starting with school districts and school systems trying to fight back against current legislation for certain things in place. So it's an uphill battle because, again, like I said, you're trying to navigate how do you protect the students' wishes, and then how do you make sure parents are included, but then how do you make sure that the school isn't giving too much oversight and then not enough oversight. It's a conundrum. And one of the things I think is beautifully chaotic about being trans is that, again, existing at different intersections of gender. A lot of people, especially early in their transition, I've been doing this almost 10 years now. So in my 10 years, I've experienced a lot. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of guys when they first come out is feeling like an imposter. There's this very strong sense of imposter syndrome. And one thing I frequently tell them is that one side of that coin is imposter syndrome, but the other side of that is authenticity. Just like you're learning who you are and you're trying to discover who you are, there's a period where it kind of feels like you're not sure, like you're like, I am, but I'm also very, because of the things that you're socialized to do. And so when they say that trans rights are human rights, what I tell people that means is this: I've lived both experiences. My mom reminded me at my last birthday, she's like, you've only been Dexter for about 9 years. You've been your prior entity for about 20. You're halfway there. You're barely a teenager. And when she said that to me, I was like, I didn't really think about it. And I was like, I'm glad, because it kind of freed me of a lot of the expectations that I put on myself. Sometimes I feel like being allowed to transition allows people the insight sometimes just to kind of see that a lot of what we do is performative. This entire existence is performative. There's African spiritual belief that's the idea that a soul lives 1,000 lifetimes. So imagine you're an actor playing 1,000 roles, right? Who are you going to be in this lifetime? The difference is that when you're trans, you get to experience what that creation is during this lifetime. It's not the same as when you're like, I'm a cis person, I live a specific story. When I'm trans, I've kind of realized that we don't all have the same book, that you actually have to write your own story, and that no story is really unique. It's just you take these different pieces and make your own. And that knowledge sometimes is really daunting. It's exhausting to know that you're kind of like, I see both sides of a scenario and I exist at this intersection. Like, again, as a trans person, if I want to get my tubes tied, it's a struggle. It is not easy. And doctors will be like, you might want to have kids. You might want to. This is what cis women go through trying to do the same thing. On the flip side, as a passing male, people's expectations of me, my manhood, my masculinity are fucked. I'm not even going to be nice on that, just fucked, to the point that it's unhealthy, where stoicism is praised, to the point that sometimes, because I'm also a black man, if I'm too blunt or direct, it becomes off as too assertive or aggressive. And then I'm always a threat. I ended up having encounters where my life has been put on the line because of me being a black man. People see my black maleness first. They don't know I'm trans. So then I'm like, whoa, this is different. But at the same time, I grew up as a black female. So I'm aware. I'm also aware of how the world saw me. So much of the time, it's like you have this extra level, not only of threat detection, but you just see the world in a different way. And I think it's just something that sometimes other people don't understand, or in our case, we understand it as part of our journey. I've met cis people who start to kind of understand that feeling a little bit later in life, once they get to the kind of the point of letting go of policing. In order to transition, part of it is I either have to lean totally into the policing and police myself in one direction, or I have to acknowledge that I got to unpack this policing, because like I said earlier about a house, who is community? We are. Who are the bricks? We are. Cis people hold themselves, like you said, I started liking 2 things on YouTube. And next thing I know, I got Andrew Tate videos. My YouTube is the entire conservative manosphere. My Facebook is an entire liberal, like real set. So I have both sides, and it's very different lived experiences. And both have certain valid parts of their lived experiences, but then they're very heightened to be polarized. And so it's just like, if you take all that away, where I can, like, as a man, I can get some of this, but as a woman, I can get some of this. Y'all, we're speaking the same language, but we're trying not to speak the same language. It's the intersection of a crazy but cool superpower.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and most people will not experience, when I was much younger, I had somebody share with me, it was a counselor at one point, who shared with me, I was probably in my 20s. And she made this point of, most people who are LGBTQ plus will experience more pain and heartache before they turn 18 than other straight cis folks will in a lifetime. And that is so like, that's so palpable because it's so true. You know, I have so many friends who like cisgender friends who have no exposure to trans folks until I came along. And they've just said things to me like, "Oh my God, like I would have never known." Like I imagine living a whole life of not knowing that. Some of
Yeah.
these folks are people I've known since high school. Some of them are people I've known since grade school. And it's like, you know, yeah, imagine you almost had a whole lifetime of never knowing about this until I came along, and thank goodness that I did. Thank
Or
goodness I chose that moment of being authentically me. Like I said, I spent 50 years of my life expressing as something that made you all comfortable while I was dying inside. Like, that's pretty messed up if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I spent a lifetime creating a space that made you all comfortable. And here's the thing, you still weren't fully comfortable with me because I've been policed on many other things. I was watching an Idina Menzel documentary today. Started watching it over lunch, and I love her. I think she's amazing. But she was talking about how it was hard for her to break out on a solo career because they kept saying, "You got to pick a lane and stay in it." And she kept saying, "No, I want to do it all. I am hard rock. I am soft. I am pop. I am this, that. I am Broadway. I am all of these things, and I should be able to be them." You know, and I was like sitting there watching this documentary, not thinking I would be crying, but I started crying because I was thinking about all the ways in which people said to me, and they said this to her too. "You're too much. You're too big. You got to, you know, tone it down. Don't be so this. Don't be so that." And it's just like,
And
stop
then
already.
to have this identity and then to choose to say, I'm going to acknowledge that, and I'm going to face it head on out here and publicly. Some people, again, imagine you don't have language for something, or you've never acknowledged it. Like your friend said, I didn't know that that was a thing. Or in many cases, when you're socialized in a system, you don't see that something's wrong. So
Yeah.
if again, as many men, there are many men who have partners who never, regardless of the gender, who never really engage with them or expect emotional work out of them, but they also never provide emotional work for them. So there's also
Yeah.
a toxic expectation of these individuals as well. So when you have this in conjunction, where I'm like, men are people too, because there are some people who go on the complete opposite side, like men are still people too.
Yeah.
You lose connection with, again, it's not about us. We get it. This is our lived experience. But if I want someone who doesn't understand my lived experience to understand it, like you said, everything you said, those are things that we all feel. We bleed red. We feel the same feelings. What causes them are different. And like you said in the beginning, you said, if this isn't about facts, like this is not, they're not arguing facts here. This is argued with feelings, because feelings get views, they get ratings. And the part we didn't even talk about, and I was just for the sake of being nice. At the end of the day, there is very much a capitalist gain in all this. This is all money. Like the biggest
Oh,
issue when it
right.
comes like with this legislation thing on top of it is that there is a level of access created by the trans identity. I'm telling y'all now, partial, low key, one part of the conspiracy theory in me is telling you part of the reason that certain parties are not on to this is because they haven't figured out how to profit from it yet. Some people have. So the moment that they can figure out how to profit from it and make it ethical, it's not going to be the same issue. But until you figure out how to profit on the system, then there's a problem until you can control the system. And as a person now who's seeing an influx of more trans people, that is the argument that I hear from people, which is, oh my goodness. And I'm like, pause, you will not push the narrative on them that they were born in the wrong body, and you will not push the narrative on them that they require surgery. I'm here to tell them no. I tell people all the time, I was never born in the wrong body. Whatever your spiritual perspective is, if you tell me the creator makes no mistakes, I tell people all the time, I was meant to become a man through Black womanhood. That was how I came to my masculinity. So that when I present myself as a man, my dad says, you have the coolest skill yet. And man's in his 70s. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you can self-edit. And I'm like, what? And it's, again, very some cis men simplicity is so amazing. I was like, what are you talking about, old dude? And he was like, when I want to say certain things, I've learned that sometimes I don't understand all kinds of things, right? I'm a man's man. I said, I get that. You are a man's man, Pops. He said, so sometimes I say things I don't come from an experience, so I don't understand something. So he has to confide in his wife. And it's kind of like he has to get this experience to be able to say, okay, before I say something, let me get this perspective. He's like, but you can do that. Like certain things you can kind of self-edit. That's cool. And I never looked at it like that. So I was just like,
But how
Wow.
sad is that? How sad is that men are raised not to be able to be self-reflective and be editing and be able to emote and share their emotion? Like,
You know what's so hard
you
becoming a
know,
man
I
was
feel incredibly grateful that
Mhm,
I was socialized as female, because I'll tell people this. I'll say, look, I will take that same 50 years. I
mhm,
don't have to go back and make any changes. Like, would I have like maybe given myself a little bit more time to explore this side? Maybe, but I don't regret anything that's happened up to this point. It's all a part of my story, and I embrace the
mhm.
whole story. And I have been blessed with some experiences that some people will never experience ever.
Exactly.
And now I would love to be able to provide them some access to it. And so that's why I started doing, I started doing trainings. Like, I was like, look, I'm just going to invite anybody. Give me $75. We'll sit for 4 hours. I'll walk you through the trans 101. That's what I called it.
Mhm.
And it's like a transgender experience training, kind of like, I'm going to talk you through some of these things. What was really interesting is I had a guy come to one of my classes, and I'll tell this story, and then I'll
Right,
not
right,
hold
because you
you.
already know
I'll
we was
not
gonna keep going.
keep
So
you
Fran, y'all was not
hijacked, 'cause you did say earlier you
I was
needed to
like
go
I
to
was
work,
like, "Go to
but
work."
but, um, but what I thought was so
Good work.
beautiful about what he had shared is he was like, "Wow, I've never thought about the fact that I in regard to, like, my gender intrinsically and my gender outwardly." He's like, "I've never thought about the fact that I actually have a choice there."
Mhm,
And he goes, "It was so beautiful to be able to sit through this training and to start to break that down and see that from a perspective of like, wow, like, I have fallen into this belief that my clothing is gendered and that I should be shopping in the men's department." And, some of these things, like, one person that was in my class, she came in a cis straight woman and she left going, "I think I'm a lesbian." Like, and I was like, "Okay." I mean,
maybe you
I'm
are.
glad that
We roll the dice to
I'm
find
glad
out.
that you found the freedom to actually say that out loud. Now you get to explore that for yourself. That's the piece of it, right? So that's the other gift that we have, is
Mhm,
we have been given the gift of being able to make the choice. Because
mhm,
I'm with you. I don't believe that I was born in the wrong body. I believe I was born in exactly the body that I was intended to be placed in, because that's what
mhm.
spirit chose.
Exactly. I'm a storyteller, as you can tell. So I tell people all the time. I said I might want to be the messenger for you. I know I'm here to deliver certain messages, and I'm going to be the messenger for the messages that I'm supposed to deliver. And my trans experience has been that. I love telling people. I said, "Did you know you could change your name?" And they're like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can change your name." Like, do you know how the
Yeah, your
process?
whole
And when you
entire name.
explain, like, well, how did you choose your name? And when I tell them the whole story and it's this whole experience, right? It's one of those things where I'm like, did you ever stop to think? You had a choice to change your name. You don't have to change it because you're changing your gender. Maybe you just never thought you could have a name. Your parents named you based off of an experience. One particular thing that I've noticed about transitioning, and I think that you take it out to people in general, is like when you transition, your parents transition with you. My dad says a lifestyle doesn't have to be a lifetime. And I like that because it's just I'm trans. My transition experience was a portion, and I'm always transitioning, but that's not my identity. It's not who I am. It's just a part of
Yeah.
who I was. It's not who I am.
Yep.
And same thing with when kids are transitioning. I have friends who have kids, and I see parents going through this, and I'm like, so can you explain? Because I'm really trying to understand this. My mom told me when I transitioned, she was like, I had to grieve you. I had to grieve the loss of the person that I knew. My brother, Michael, the same one that helped me with the retreats and stuff, he was just like, when you have kids, he's like, and he's a stepdad. So, he's had them for years. He's like, you see their personalities, you kind of see them reveal themselves to you. So you kind of have an idea who you think they're going to be. And as people, we hold on to that because you want to do the best for your child, you want to protect them, and you want to raise them in such a way. And then ultimately you find out that maybe they're nothing like what you expected. They are nothing like what you expected. And there's a
Yeah.
loss that comes with that, that has to be
Yeah.
grieved for the parent. And even though I may be talking about someone being trans, you could easily say that's what a parent goes through when they find out their
Hey,
child's gay,
you
when
know
their
what?
child changes religions, when
Yeah.
their child changes spiritual belief systems, when you change dietary systems, when you change communities.
Yep.
So, yes, we have this experience and those stories are key, but those themes. I was in theater as a student, if y'all noticed, and then my last little story. I went to Ithaca College, and my before I went there, my teacher used to tell us, she said, there's only like 4 or 5 stories in the world. Everything else is like a remix. So, yes, you're unique, but remember, you're also you're unique, but you're united.
Yeah.
You're like a piece, but you're still a part of the whole. So enjoy what makes you
Yeah.
special, but also enjoy what makes you regular, average. It means that you're
Yeah.
okay.
And the other piece of that is like for me, it's like being interconnected with everything. Like
Mhm,
I'm indigenous. I've known ever since I was very young that we're all connected to everything.
mhm,
The earth, the sky, the trees, the grass, the bugs, the people, the horses, the dogs, the cats, like all of it is all interconnected. It's all energy.
mhm,
One of the things that I think is really extraordinary is that, my indigenous community, right, pre-colonization and forced assimilation, right? So, uh, they would give you a name when you were born, but
mhm,
you had a rite of passage when you turned around that 12, 13 years old.
mhm,
That point, you would go off on a vision quest, and then you would come back and
mhm,
you would tell your community how you're going to contribute, and
mhm,
then you would get named again.
mhm.
And it's like the way that we do it is so backwards. Like the way that not we as in you and me, but the way
Society,
that
yeah.
Western society and culture does it, right? Colonized, assimilated America is. And most parents will hang on to this. Like they hang on to it so tight. Like I gave you that name because that name is blah, blah, blah. And it's like but your children, you don't own your kid just because you had the kid.
Mhm,
And there are things as we grow older, like the second time I came out to my mom, when I told her that I was something other than the straight person that they thought I was. And like she had to have this big grieving thing about my getting married. And I said to her, I said, what makes you think I'm not going to get married? Like,
yep,
I can still get married. It's just not going to look the way you thought. But I understand that you need to grieve this vision of me.
mhm,
Now, thankfully, I did that with my mom when I was in my, late teens, early 20s, because then as things came around and I came out again as trans, here's the remarkable thing, and then we'll close it down. I came out as trans to my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh, I know. Like ever since you were this big, you told me that you were a boy." And I was like, all of these things that I thought I had made up in my mind or that were
mhm.
dreams that I'd had instantaneously became reality.
Oh, I
And
just
I said to my mom, I was like, "Oh, what a huge gift you just gave me,
mhm.
that now my whole existence becomes real."
Fran, the only thing I'm gonna say to that is we create and we manifest. And to be
Yes.
trans is to tell people and to show people that when you believe something and you follow whatever your process is to become that person that you believe, it is possible. Many people wouldn't believe that this is who I am. And when I struggle and when I feel like I can't do things, I remind myself, if I could make Dexter a reality and he's real, flesh, and he's a real person to people, there's
Yeah.
nothing that I can do. And just like I put that in my mind, like I could manifest this. Trans people are just a reminder when you feel like you can't do something, like you said, energy, positive manifestation, y'all. When you think that you want something, I'm a reminder, my existence every day is a reminder that as long as you push to it and you believe and you put that energy towards what you believe in, it is achievable. It can be achieved and you can do that. And not to everybody else, but to my
And you
trans
did that.
siblings, you
And
can do
you did
this.
that.
You are
Yes.
doing that. Don't let when you feel bad about your bittersweet transness, understand that there's a beautiful poem called Dysphoria is Not My Name, and I gotta find the
Mm.
author. And they call us naturally occurring sweet things. Right, baby,
Oh,
you are a
yeah.
self-made superhero. You are a creator of the universe. You are literally a tiny creator in this universe.
Yeah.
Be Remember that you are loved, you are heard, you are seen, but you are appreciated and you are here to be a vessel and a vehicle for others and to be able to take you out of a cycle that you weren't required to be in. So celebrate that thing that makes you different and don't let anyone ever make you feel like you're less than, because you are beautiful and this was just part of your process. trust the process.
Yeah. All right. That's it. I mean, let's leave it on that mic drop. Dex, I am going to invite you back.
Gotcha, Pops.
Definitely going to invite you back. That was something about profit, which had been there for a while. We already covered that. We're not looping back around. I'm definitely going to invite you back. Thank you so much. Like, very powerful conversation. I'm excited for y'all and your weekend there in Virginia. And I hope it's wonderful, and just love you, man.
Man, appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks to you, Pops.
You're welcome. Bye, son. Talk to you soon. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us today on a impromptu episode of Frankly Speaking. I am Eli Rigatuso, your host, and we will be back again soon with my lovely co-host, Avalisa Ellicott. So be sure to stay tuned on our or on our Facebook page to see when we're coming back. Take care, y'all. Have a great night. Vote no on LB 574 and 575. Call your senators. Tell them to not. We don't want it. We don't want it. It's junk.